Hey YouTube, this is Alexander, and earlier today Google held their annual Google I/O Developer Conference, and in that conference they actually announced the Android M Developer Preview, which is a preview to the next version of Android. So sort of like how they did last year with Android L and Lollipop, they've done this year with Android M. So I've got it here on my Nexus 5, I've flashed it, and I'm going to go ahead and give you sort of a comparison between the Nexus 6 running Lollipop and the Nexus 5 running Android M, as well as sort of an overview of what's new in Android M. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So jumping right into the lock screen, we can tell just barely that the font has changed. It's now all uppercase and it's a little bit more bold, both in the date alarms as well as the time. And they've also changed how you access those shortcuts at the bottom. So instead of just swiping over from the right or left and being able to access them, you now actually have to place your finger over them and then swipe to the right or left, which is really nice to avoid accidentally opening them, because I know myself, I've opened them too many times and it did get annoying. So it's really nice to see that they've done something so that it's not as easy to open them and it doesn't happen accidentally. But they've also changed that dialer shortcut to the Google Voice shortcut. So if you guys are into doing a lot of Google Voice searches, this will be cool for you. If not, then I don't know if they'll change that. But anyway, moving on, this is probably one of the biggest changes that we'll notice is the app drawer. It now scrolls vertically, which is something that HTC does on their HTC One flagship devices. So we've seen it from skins for quite a while, but it's actually here in stock Android, and I don't know how I feel about that. You do have some recents up top, so you can get to your four most recently used apps, and I'm just, though, not a big fan of the vertical scrolling. I much prefer the pages. They remind me of the Google Now UI and just the card UI. So I really hope that they don't keep this around, but as always, it's a developer preview, so things are bound to change, things are bound to stay, and we'll just have to wait and see. Now at the top, you also have a little search box, so you can actually go ahead and search for apps if you have a ton of apps and it's often hard for you to find the right one, which is kind of nice if you do have a ton of apps. Now moving on, I noticed a very small change to the camera, at least the focus ring. So when you tap to focus and adjust exposure, it now does a little pulse rather than actually a little rotate inside of the ring. So it's a little different, not a huge deal, but yeah, they've changed it just a bit. But also this is something that can come in the form of a software update in the Google Play Store rather than an entire OS update. So that's something to keep in mind. Now the calculator has also gotten a few different options right up front. So you can see there if you need some more options, if you need those options, you can use them, but yeah, those are now implemented right up front. And the settings now has a new font, so you can tell it looks a little bit darker and it's a bit more bold, I would say. I like it, actually. I think it looks better than the sort of more faded or grayish color of the older Lollipop font. But yeah, taking a look inside these settings, we can see that in the sound and notification area, we have a new Do Not Disturb. So they've gone away with interruptions, it seems, and we have more control over which notifications are coming through as priority, as well as adding automatic rules for turning on priority at certain times. So we can turn them on certain days of the week, certain times, certain events, or we can make our own rule, which is pretty cool actually. I like that they gave you more control over which ones are actually priority and which ones aren't. But anyway, heading into storage, it now takes 2 taps to get into the internal storage. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe for SD cards, they've now separated the 2 storage areas, but that's changed a bit. Battery hasn't changed at all. We also have apps. So now in the apps, you no longer take a look at the apps and then the RAM usage. You actually just get a list of all the apps that are installed, and you can go ahead and take a look at some of the existing settings as well as some new ones. So we've got permissions here where you can disable or enable certain permissions for an app. And if you disable some of them, of course, you're going to lose some functionality, but it allows you more control over what the app actually has access to, as well as changing the notifications and when the app can notify you, which is pretty cool that they're giving the user more control over what the app has access to, as well as, like I mentioned, how it notifies you and when it notifies you. Now tapping the menu icon, we can of course show the system icons, or the system apps rather, and then we can of course reset those if we mess something up, or go to advanced where we can take a look at which apps are going to open which links, and also some optimization settings and memory where we can go ahead and check out the RAM usage of different apps if we'd like to. But anyway, backing out of there and going into tap and pay, this is presumably where Android Pay is going to live. Now right now there's nothing really here, it's not functional, but but it is there. So moving down, we can see the Google option, which basically houses an area where we can manage everything that's accessing our Google account, which is kind of cool. It's pretty centralized, so it's not too hard to go ahead and take a look at everything. Now, heading into developer options, we can actually change the theme of the settings app. So if we want, we can have it be dark. For example, I guess if the white is bugging your eyes at night, you can make it dark. You can also go ahead and set it to automatic, which will probably change it by time of day. So when it detects that it's nighttime, it will change it to dark. I really like that feature, and I hope they keep that in the final build of Android M. Now, we also have the option to change the system volume from anywhere in the UI, which is really cool. It's really easy to do. You basically just press volume up or volume down, then hit the down arrow, and you can change the ringtone volume, you can change the media volume and the alarm volume. It makes it super useful, and it's something that custom ROMs and skins have had for quite a while, and it's cool to see that stock Android now has it. Now, of course, they also mentioned the new Now on Tap, which is basically like Google Now, but on steroids almost. It basically is going to give you information depending on which app you have open. It's going to be contextual and know exactly what you're asking when you're asking for things. It's really cool stuff, but unfortunately right now it's not working, and it actually is pretty buggy. So you can see here I couldn't even get out of it. I had to reboot my device, and then when I rebooted it, Google Now was gone. So the developer build is definitely buggy, and that's something to keep in mind if you're looking to flash it. I probably wouldn't flash it on my daily driver device, so that's something for you guys to just keep in mind. And then finally, if we go into About Phone, Android version, and tap it like crazy, we can get that new Easter egg, which Google has just put a funny little icon down there, some string of text. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, that was just sort of a brief overview of what's new in Android M and kind of comparing it with Android Lollipop on the Nexus 6. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe down there for more, and don't forget to follow me on Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Periscope. All the links will be down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.